the former D.C. homicide detective and attorney, and very early on, he was quite critical of how the prosecutors had been handling this case. So, Ted, first off, your reaction to not guilty across the board.
Well, hi, Neil. I believe really that there are really no winners in this case. We have two men who are dead, one who was severely wounded, and we have an 18-year-old kid, Kyle Rittenhouse, that I believe got in over his head. But Kyle Rittenhouse was closed in what we defined as self-defense. He had a right on that night to defend himself. He believed, apparently, and the jury believed, that he was in great fear of bodily harm. And when you look at the fact that Kyle Rittenhouse, the first person that he shot was coming at him was Rosenbaum. And at that stage, he tried to escape from the scene that was going on there, and all of a sudden you have Huber with a skating board that's trying to hit him over the head. That in and of itself could be considered a dangerous weapon. And then you had the third victim, Gabe Grosskopf. That individual had initially said that he did not have a gun out there that night, and on cross-examination, Gabe Grosskopf admitted that he had a gun, that he had pointed that gun at Rittenhouse. And our viewers should understand this and be clear on this, that Rittenhouse did not have to wait to be shot by Grosskopf before he could take some action. So I'm not really surprised by this verdict. I think that the prosecution was not able to disprove that Rittenhouse did not act in self-defense.
Were you surprised, Ted, that it was not guilty across the board, that Rittenhouse was acquitted on all counts? I mean, there were a lot of possibilities here: intentional, reckless, attempted homicide, reckless endangerment. None of the above.
You know, all of these counts, all five of them, centered around self-defense. And as I was on with you yesterday, and we were going into day 4, which is day 4, but day 3 had just about passed, I was deeply concerned as to whether they were going to try to split the baby in half and find him guilty of some things and not guilty of others. But again, I can tell you, Neil, that what helped Rittenhouse was when he also took the stand. And he was able to connect with that jury. And he was able to convince that jury that he was in fear of great bodily harm. That helped tremendously.
What do you think if he had never testified on his behalf?
You know, I think that it could have been a different scenario here. I think that that jury needed to hear from him. And I think his lawyers also have come out in this afternoon saying that the jury, that they also believe that the jury wanted to hear from Rittenhouse. And when he got on the stand and when he broke down, either if you on the left or the right of this, you can say, well, he was being phony or he was not being serious. On the other side, you can say that this was a young man that was under tremendous burden. And at that stage, he broke down before the jury. And the jury was able to see that, and they believed him.
So, Ted, I'm wondering, a lot of people were wondering the longer this went on, how they read, or what does it mean right now? The jury's still deliberating. We were going over 24 total hours of deliberations. A lot of people were thinking, are they afraid whatever decision they make and the impact it might have outside, that, something that could exonerate Rittenhouse might lead to riots or demonstrations. They're still concerned about that as we speak, although there's not even a hint of that as we speak. But I'm just wondering what you made of the time it took to get to this decision.
Well, it took a longer length of time than, if you remember, the O.J. Simpson trial and other trials. But this jury was trying to get it right. I think this jurors took their responsibility very seriously, and they wanted to get it right. I think initially, Neil, when I looked at this, the jury instructions, I believe, were just rather confusing when it was given to the jury. I think that the jury is still out, though, on the judge and the manner in which he tried this case. I think one of the things, and I was very troubled by it last night, when I heard that one of the jurors were permitted to take instructions home. We believe in our jury system that when you are deliberating, you deliberate within the confines of the courthouse with everybody there. I found it in all of the 30-some-odd years that I've been practicing law, I've never known a judge to allow jury instructions to go home with any one single juror. But that is a aside. The fact about it is that Kyle Rittenhouse has been found not guilty of all 5 of these counts, and there is absolutely no way whatsoever to retry him. The big question I have right now is, where do this man go and rebuild his life? He is known and he's seen all over the country. He's a young kid, and I don't think it's going to be very easy. And he's killed 2 people. That is going to be a very troubling indictment for him the rest of his life, Neil.
Yeah, even his lawyer was saying, without overly tipping his hand where he's going to go, that the family's going to move. We don't know where, but not be in the area. Ted, you mentioned about one juror having access or trying to get access, at home, and that got me wondering about the unique situation here where the jury was not sequestered. That's very unusual in a case like this, but what did you make of that?
Well, this is a high-profile case, and I was on here with you yesterday, and I was just rambling about one thing, that this jury should, in fact, have been sequestered. I think it would have been fair for both sides for the jury to be sequestered anytime you have a high-profile case, because what you're saying is, hey, jury, go home, don't look at television, don't listen to the radio. We're living in an age, Neil, where these jurors could be getting on a subway or getting on a bus and hear about what is going on in this case. And I think that would be considered one of the unfair processes of a high-profile case of this nature, is where the jury was not sequestered.
If I can now flip from the lawyer side of you to the former D.C. detective, and about tonight, and worries about whether things will get dicey tonight, and what law enforcement is doing. They have a low-key presence. We're told they're not inundating the area. We know that guardsmen are on call just in case, but your thoughts?
Well, I covered the riots in Milwaukee, Wisconsin with Griff Jenkins there. And I can tell you, I don't think that they were as prepared as they are in Kenosha here, Wisconsin, for anything that may take place tonight. I am hoping, from what we saw at the courthouse, that everything will be peaceful there tonight. But if it is not, I do believe that the National Guard, which you've said is on standby, and the Kenosha, Wisconsin Police Department, that they are ready to put down anything that take place here tonight. But I can tell you, I listened just recently to the governor of New York and the mayor of New York City, the former governor of New York, right, Cuomo, and the mayor of New York City. And they are putting coal oil on the flame by saying that there was something unjust here. Look, ladies and gentlemen out there, and Neil, please, I implore you, they need to understand this was a jury. And this jury has spoken, irrespective of what side of the aisle you're on in regards to this. We need to respect the jury verdict in this case.
Yeah, and that was a theme all too rarely echoed. But to be fair, the president did indicate that. We'll get to that in a second. But Ted, I wanted to just personally thank you for your help and guidance all this week on this case. So you're a straight shooter. You look at it as you see it, as a good detective and lawyer you are. And that insight was and remains appreciated by our viewers as well. Ted, thank you very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.